Words mean things. It is important that we use words in adherence to their meanings so that we can hold intellectual conversations where the substance of the words is clear and concise. Common language brings common understanding to all who hear it. Therefore, it is important that we use well-understood meanings for well-defined words such that there is little or no confusion. Unfortunately, there are many people whose goal is to obfuscate words, to use them in a manner not consistent with their generally understood meanings. They do this because they have an agenda above and beyond simple communication. They want to push a position, not facilitate clear and concise discussion. Therefore, it is important to be very plain about words, especially contentious words, defining exactly how we use them and why we do so. One such word is atheism. It means different things to different people, but in many of these instances, such meanings are not driven by clarity of definition, but by desire to demean those that they disagree with. Therefore, I'm going to lay out the definition I'm going to use throughout my videos in hopes that a better quality and more concise discussion may arise. If we go back to the etymology of the word, we find that atheism comes from the Greek prefix a, which means without, and theos, which means God. The definition of the word atheism literally means without God. Do the Greek. It does not mean against God or against religion or any of the other things that the religious often claim. It is literally someone who has no need for and thus does not believe in any gods. Theists often try to set up an adversarial relationship between their one true faith and those who dare to question or reject it. This is a false relationship. It tries to cast the disagreement as an us versus them or good versus evil dichotomy. Rationally speaking, atheism is the rejection of claims made by believers for which there is no objective evidence. Without these unjustified supernatural beliefs, there would be no need for anyone to declare themselves an atheist. If there was no significant belief in gods, there would be no need for atheism, just as there is no need for a-unicornism. This is an acknowledgement that the religious side has not met their burden of proof in demonstrating their claims are factually true. It isn't about hating some god or wanting to sin. The latter is an absurd assertion because without a god to issue moral dictates, there's no such thing as sin in the first place. It's about examining beliefs and rejecting them for cause. Religions have not earned that level of respect for their ideas, and until they can produce objective evidence that the things they claim are true actually are, atheists will and should continue to reject those claims as unsubstantiated. But what about agnosticism? How does that fit into the picture? Many people claim they aren't atheists, but agnostics instead, thinking that agnosticism is somehow a midway point between atheism and theism. Unfortunately, agnosticism is misused quite badly by those who do not understand what it really means. For some, they're uncomfortable referring to themselves as atheists, mostly due to the negative social connotations conveyed by theists. They buy into the adversarial definition, and, not wanting to be seen as the enemy of religion, they've picked another word entirely to label themselves. Unfortunately, this is a misunderstanding of the nature and usage of the available terminology. Atheism and theism represent a binary proposition. Everyone is either an atheist or a theist. You cannot be both. You cannot be neither. It's like being dead or alive. Everyone is either dead or they're alive. You cannot be both. You cannot be neither. To understand this better, I need to explain what theism really is. Theism is a state of believing in a god or gods. Belief is an active condition. You have to take active steps to posit a belief in a thing. It isn't something that just exists neutrally. You either believe a thing or you do not believe a thing. There is no middle ground. Note that I didn't say you either believe or disbelieve. Disbelief is an active state like belief. Lack of belief is a neutral state. While certainly you can actively disbelieve claims made by theists, it isn't necessary to be an atheist. So, to define terms, a theist is anyone who has an active belief that a god or gods exist. This includes deists and, depending on their specific intent, pantheists and panentheists. On the other side of the coin is atheism, which rejects claims for the existence of a god or gods. Anyone without an active belief in a god or gods is an atheist. That includes people who say, I don't know and I don't care. Now, getting back to agnosticism, the Greek root is gnosis, which means knowledge. An agnostic, by definition, is someone without knowledge. That means it asks an entirely different question than the atheism-theism question, which deals with belief. Everyone is either an atheist or a theist. Everyone is also either an agnostic or a gnostic. These are two entirely separate and distinct binary propositions. To answer agnostic to the question of belief is as absurd as being asked what your favorite flavor of ice cream is and answering red. Finally, there is the question of strong atheism versus weak atheism. Some people go beyond not believing in gods to stating that they believe that there are no gods. This is variously called strong atheism, positive atheism, or hard atheism, depending on who you talk to. Many theists will argue that this constitutes a faith because it is not possible to prove a negative. And to a certain degree, this is true, not just with gods, but with virtually any belief. For instance, I cannot prove to any degree of absolute certainty that there are no unicorns anywhere in the universe. I simply lack the ability to demonstrate this is so. I cannot simultaneously be on every planet in every solar system and every galaxy in the vast universe to verify that no unicorns pop up magically in one of them. However, I've seen no evidence to suggest that there are unicorns anywhere. Therefore, I don't believe in them. I don't say they're impossible. I just say I don't think they're real. There certainly are different formulations of gods, and as we examine each one in turn, there are some that are logically inconsistent and have mutually contradictory characteristics. It is therefore perfectly logical and consistent to reject those specific formulations as both irrational and impossible. If someone was to declare their God to be both 50 feet tall and 2 inches tall simultaneously, that is a ridiculous formulation and thus inconsistent with reality and should be declared not to exist. There are atheists who would argue that a God defined as omnipotent, omniscient, and omnibenevolent cannot exist because those terms are logically inconsistent. It is incompatible with the world that we see around us and the claims made by Christians about their deity. A God which is all-powerful and all-knowing and all-good cannot justifiably create a world where evil exists, especially because that God could have, by definition, prevented it all. That's what constitutes atheism and how I'm going to use it in terms of this channel. If you'd like to argue for another definition, by all means, make your case in the comments below or attempt to rebut my arguments in another video. I'm happy to engage in rational, spirited debate. Thank you for your time. Please post useful comments and suggestions and subscribe for more rational views on religion and the world around us.